Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. We've had transvestite, but not obvious. Murderers, convicted felons. No pedophiles. I don't like pedophiles. But. So if you've got if you're clean, record, I mean, not clean, I don't give a shit about, physically if you're clean or not, that's your problem. But back to the Viking bitch. About 20% of what she said isn't true. And you're going to see nobody that I put up here as an example in the webinar knows what they're talking about. 100%. And I could cut it out of the webinars, but I want you to know that you don't have to know shit. You don't have to know shit. I mean, literally. You can sell them the wrong shit. The lawyers will fix it. And even though I say that, you won't do that. Because some of you are going to go back and study the arbitrage laws and this, that, and and it's a waste of time. The 12 and 13-year guys that I told you about, they knew securities law backwards and forwards by the time they did a deal. They wouldn't trust the lawyers, and they had first-class, both guys had first-class lawyers. They wouldn't trust the accountants. They were anal. They didn't believe when they saw a T crossed. That's the worst end of the continuum. But the one guy that's on one deal, he was already rich, so he really wasn't motivated. The other guy's rich, and he's up there. So in the 10 years after the 13 years, he got with the program. And he told me 25 times, why don't you just fucking knock my teeth out? And when you're not as successful as you think in as short a time as you think, you're going to blame me. That I didn't, it's because you gave up the mentor program. It's because of this. Okay, questions or comments about the Viking bitch? Yes, sir, in the back.
When she talked about that Corf seller.
She didn't know what she's talking about.
Well, she said he didn't want a lawyer at all. What are the
No. Well, and I told her that was a mistake. But the deal, that was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And they did the deal, and they could have done the deal that afternoon. But she wanted to find out if he really had the contracts. Just because somebody says they have a contract with the NBA, or they have a contract with, whoever, Ford Motor Company, to provide all the health care. That doesn't mean they have it. Okay, maybe they had it, and it expired. Oh, you misunderstood me, young man. I said I had it. I didn't say I have it. So you got to do, a little due diligence. And she can do it faster because she's a hospital administrator. And that kind of nurse that she is one level below a doctor, so she can give prescriptions and do stuff like that. But I told you the first day, one of the hardest things is when you do substance abuse and there's contracts that have to be transferred. Normally, you do it in the company's name because the contract only can transfer from company to company. If it's in a dude's name, that's different because that means it has to be transferred from him to somebody, normally you, and you don't want the contract in your name. So then you don't have an employee that you trust enough. Of course, if you transfer the contract in the fuckface's name, and he walks, and he sets up shop across the street, and you're fucked. And that guy that was knowledgeable about the rape and all, she should have, took her 5 months to fire that thief. So she's still got a little mother in her, Got 8 kids. And one of them just barely out of diapers. She's too old for that shit. Questions? Yes, sir.
She mentions that the CFO put money in the deal.
Yeah, because at whatever the loan, she promised the closing, and the bank, she was going to, there was only like 50, 80 grand between the spread of cash flow and debt service, and the CFO who moved there. Management teams at the board level do not fucking move for some slag slut They don't pick up their whole life. They don't. That does not happen. She is a powerhouse. And he said, fuck, let's fucking around. Here's 50 grand. And she paid, when the deal closed, she paid him back. It doesn't happen. I've never seen it in 50 years. And I've been around some powerful gals. She is an exceptional woman. And these guys aren't charging her. I keep teasing her. I said, you must be one hell of a fuck, Viking bitch. She just smiles. I mean, I don't care. You remember me. I'd have calluses on my fucking back. And I know women in business that do have calluses on their back. God bless them. God bless them. And they're anti-feminist and all that shit. Fuck them, you know. I mean, they're anti all that shit. God bless them. I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, manner, or form that a woman should use her body to benefit her business career. What else about the Viking bitch? Yes, sir, again.
She mentions that she sweeps the money.
I'll explain what she meant to say. She didn't explain it right. Okay. Dan Locke, who I love, who's a mentee, very successful kid. And I'd say teasingly because he's got all Asians employees. He doesn't all have Asians. But when I went to visit him a couple years ago, he had his staff line up like ninjas from about the wall to where Cat is. About 10 or 12 of them, maybe 14 of them because they're little. They all look like ninja warriors, you know. And yes, they're all Asian. He said you've got to look at the money and sweep the cash at least once a day. Now, he has cash coming in from 800 or 1,500 sources. And it's easy, not with my knowledge of computers, but it's easy if you know what the fuck you're doing that you can, you know, misguide money and misdirect it. And so now once a day, she takes the cash, and she's not on a cash basis where it comes in every day, but she takes the cash and sweeps it, she gathers it together and puts it in the holding account, of which there's only 3 people that have access to that, the CFO, the chairman, and her. And you have to have at least 2 signatures or 2 code things to get any money out. So her plus somebody else. Of course, the chairman and CFO could run with the money, but that hasn't been the case yet. But there's never too much money in there. So I used to tell a banker I had, Frank Van Grosky, we're doing a deal for 100 million or 80 million or something, and he was left-handed, and he used to sign like, you know, if you're left-handed, your hand goes over your signature as you write. And the signatures were always slightly blurred. I said, Frank, why? You know, he's sweating. He says, you make the fucking bank nervous, Dan. I says, because you say you're going to run to this and you're going to do this, and then you punch people and but they're great credits. Otherwise, we wouldn't be fucking loaning you the money. And I said, well, I'm not going to run like that unless for $1 billion. Then I'll run like a thief in the night. And he said, don't say that, Dan. Please don't say that. Because I do that. I'm the same way with everybody. Whether it was Walter Wriston, the president of Citibank, or Mr. Romanian moron here. What else did I explain the sweep? Okay. Yep, go ahead.
But she also mentioned that she's putting the money there for the next deal.
No. She wants to have enough money. If she has 600,000, 800,000, $1 million too, that I mean, and she finds a motivated seller, wants to close the deal. Okay, fine. Because she has the money available. There's another hand. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the asset purchase versus the stock purchase?
No, that's when we want asset purchases, but not all of them are asset purchases. And part of the reason, as I just alluded to, when you have licenses to transfer, they don't transfer. You don't want to transfer it person to person, because 1, then you're stuck, and 2, you've got to find somebody to put the license into. And so, but when the company has the license on a corporate purchase, then it's just corporation to corporation. But when we talk about company structure and all, I mean, it's 5-minute conversation, because you do it 1 or 2 ways and nothing else. If there's some fancy fandango reason, no. Next. Other question. Yes, sir, in the back.
So if the seller doesn't want to have a lawyer, do we kind of...
No, I don't like that. She did it. We've had other guys do that. But, I mean, the only couple deals in my whole long 50-year career that have ever blown up is when the old fart, land lease years and years and years ago, decades ago, old lady, 88 years old or some bullshit, had 5 sections. Sections, I think, used to be 16 acres. And we wanted to drill, blah, blah, blah. And she, I don't need any, I mean, typical overalls with a piece of straw in her mouth, just like in the movies. Okay? But she had a nephew who was a lawyer. Granny, I mean, and we had to go to court. And the lady told the truth. She says, I told him I didn't want a lawyer. And I said, and her nephew, the lawyer, stood up and says, by this time she's 90, because by the time I got to court, and she's in a wheelchair, just like all the people sick come into the court. And I mean, it was slam dunk in their favor. I mean, it didn't matter that it wasn't true, but it didn't matter. You want them to have a lawyer. And even if you have an affidavit from him that, I don't want a lawyer, that doesn't mean shit. Now, if the guy's 25 years old at Harvard MBA and he says that, that's fine. But not an 87-year-old old granny, I mean, you're fucked. You can't win. Can't win. Other question? Yes, sir.
She talks about how she works in the business. Did she have
Who's after that?
an opportunity to get? Did she have an opportunity to get like terms where the owner would stay for 3 years to work in the business?
And she doesn't need him to stay 3 years because she's there. She knows how to do his job better or her job better. But you're going to need somebody. But like the Nazi said earlier, the owner, I fired her the next day. And in theory, she should have stayed. And, I don't care if she sues me. Fuck her. You heard what he said. And once you get the machine going, and depending on your own personal skills, depending on your own how you can communicate, that'll be between 3 and 7 or 8 deals. The better of you will be 2, 3 deals. You'll figure out what you can do and what you can't do and what you're good at, what you're not good at. The numbnuts of you, which is most of you in this room, will take 7, 8 deals to figure out because you're afraid and you won't push. Remember how the Nazi said, I didn't push the banks in the beginning. I was la-di-da. I wanted to please. That's all of you. Even though I tell you not to do that, that's most of you right now. And that's going to slow you down. And after you view 2, 3, 4 deals and how slow, and even though I tell you do seller finance, but you're going to do commercial bank, mainly because you want to pull money out of the deals easily. And with commercial bank, it is easier. So for your own stupidity, your fucking greed and avarice is going to slow you down. But by the time 8, 9 deals, now Andre's figured it out in 2 deals. And now we're 18 deals later, 20 deals. And we're going to see his current numbers tomorrow. But once you figure out what you're capable of, not what you're really capable of in the cosmos time, but what you're capable you can do here on a small basis, you'll figure out, and you'll grease your own wheel by getting involved. And then there's a difference in what kind of deal do you accept. 3 deals, I don't mean I'm going to take all 3. We're going to take the 3 or the 1 or the 2 or the 3 that do it my way, which is the way I'm teaching you. We're going to show you tomorrow an average deal from the meatheads for this year. And then I'm going to show you how a deal should have been done. They don't even look alike. Because you cave, you acquiesce, because you're afraid you're not going to get a deal done. And that's just it, guys. I know. Ma'am, were you going to say something? I could tell.
She spoke about firing one board member.
Correct. That was the guy she fired, the COO that cheated and knew about rape and et cetera, et cetera. After he moved, he sold his $750,000 house, which is a lot of house in Texas, moved from Dallas-Fort Worth to Houston, and then she fired his ass.
How did he get paid?
He didn't get paid. There's no cash flow yet.
And the shares?
Oh, well, the shares, when you fire somebody for, what she did, remember that she hadn't issued the shares yet. But even if they had issued, when you're getting fired for not talking about rape and this and that, you don't fight over the shares. You drop the charges, I'll give you the shares. But that's when that happened, I might have hesitated a half a second on that one myself. Because I know what it is to move, and I know what it is to move when fucking kids and teenagers. I didn't give a shit. You'll make friends. If you don't make friends, fuck you. So that's what I told my kids. You can ask them, they're not here, but you could fucking ask them. Dad didn't give a shit about any of that. Friends are problems. They're not as big a problems as family, but they're problems. And they are, and we both know it, don't we? Don't we? We all know it. We just don't talk about it, do we? Everybody's got a clubfoot uncle in the closet that takes his clothes off at Christmas and shit. We all got that. Yes, ma'am.
Concerning like the firing, she didn't have to do it in any special way, right? It's like you didn't disclose you're fired, right?
No, it took her less than 30 seconds, like she said.
Okay.
She says, Tom or whatever the fuck his name is, he knew when on the phone, she did it on the phone, she knew, or he knew that, I wanted to talk to you about the such and such case, which was the rape case, He knew he was through right then. And there are no secrets, it's just mysteries. And now, whistleblowing is vogue. You rat out your company, you rat out your best friend, is vogue on these fucking little meaty mouth cocksucking millennials, etc. It's vogue. You get awards for ratting people out now. That's where the world's gone. I'm not saying this is right, but we would go to jail first. And now you get a fucking award. They make you Ratter of the Year on Time Magazine or some shit. That's where we are. And that's why it's so fucking easy. What else? Other questions? Okay. Thank you, YouTube.